Hello, Jasmine. Hello, Andres.
Hello, Ugo. Hello,
Hi.
Andy.
Hello,
Hi.
hello.
I love you guys.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Watcheando Movies.
Happy Pride Month.
So just a bit of background, just a little like the premise of this podcast. So, Jasmine, you used to like movies, right? Now you don't.
Sure.
Yeah. Andres, you kind of like movies?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm a film buff. I've been a film buff for 7 years or so, since I was 13. So we're all depressed right now.
I'm
'Cause
having
we're
the
in the
time
Great
of
Depression.
my life.
Are you?
Yeah, that's pretty great.
Okay.
The quarantine was the best thing that could happen to my mental health.
I wouldn't I wouldn't say that. So Jasmine used to like movies. She stopped at some point, like in 2011, 2012.
High school.
High school, yep. So that's like sort of the time when I started again. Andres is pretty new to movies since 2016-ish.
Yeah. Sounds about right.
Holy shit, I just burped.
Whoa.
Oh, just burped again.
Gross.
We'll cut that out. Don't worry, guys.
So, so I made this podcast to show Jasmine movies every week. And now because she's not depressed, it's just to give me something to do.
Because you're
And
depressed.
because I'm depressed now.
Fantastic.
It's a great time to watch movies. We've been watching movies chronologically in terms of like years, going consecutive years. So now, we're in 2017.
Really?
Jasmine,
Yeah.
what movie are we watching today?
Today we are watching Lady Bird.
Does Mom hate me?
If you're tired, we can sit down.
I'm not tired.
You were dragging your feet.
You are so infuriating.
Please stop yelling.
I'm not yelling. Oh, it's
Do
perfect.
you love it?
You both have such strong personalities.
When is a normal time to have sex?
You're having sex.
I'm ready. Just wanted it to be special.
Why? You're gonna have so much unspecial sex in your life.
We're afraid that we will never escape our past.
Whatever we give you, it's never enough. It's never enough.
It is enough.
We're afraid of what the future will bring. We're afraid we won't be loved.
You can't do anything unless you're the center of attention.
We won't be liked.
Yeah, well, you know your mom's tits, they're totally fake. She made one bad decision at 19. Two bad decisions.
And we won't succeed.
I want you to be the very best version of yourself that you can be.
Spoilers, of course. Lady Bird is written and directed by Greta Gerwig. It stars Saoirse Ronan, Laurie Metcalf, Lucas Hedges, Timothy Chalamet, and Beanie Feldstein. It is what the fuck? I cannot read my handwriting. Oh, it premiered. It premiered at the Telluride Film Festival. Do you guys know what that is?
Of course not.
Of course not. So
Yeah, I don't think I've heard of that.
it's a film festival in Colorado. That's where Moonlight premiered as well. You know how Oscar movies tend to open at film festivals first.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's one of the big ones.
Is it?
Yeah, one of the big five.
What was it called?
Telluride. Yeah, I guess we could go to it. Whenever the corona goes down.
Yeah, and then we can get lit. I'm just kidding.
we can smoke weed because it's legal over there.
I want to go to a film festival.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe this podcast will take off and we get invited.
Sure, in like 10 years.
Like 10 years. It premiered there at September 1st, 2017. And then it released in the U.S. on November 3rd, 2017. It is Greta Gerwig's directorial debut and also the first screenplay she's ever written by herself. She wrote Frances Ha with Noah Baumbach. I don't know if you guys...
I was this close to watching it.
You say that about a lot of movies.
Yeah. That's why it means nothing.
It grossed $7.86 million on a budget of $10 million, which is very, very, very good. It has its own wiki for all the awards it was nominated for, by the way,
Nice.
which is, always very impressive. At the 90th Oscars, it was nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress, Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Screenplay, and it won for nothing. It didn't win anything, unfortunately. It has a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 79% audience score. Big.
Discrepancy?
Yeah, that's that's the word. Yeah. The consensus reads: Lady Bird delivers fresh insights about the turmoil of adolescence, and reveals writer-director Greta Gerwig as a fully formed filmmaking talent. here's the synopsis of the story from Wikipedia.
Okay.
Marin McPherson, a nurse. My handwriting is so hard to read.
Oh my gosh.
Works something to keep her family afloat after her husband loses his job. She also maintains a turbulent bond with a teenage daughter who is just nice, who's just whatever.
That's the movie.
Yeah, that's the movie. Right. So I saw this when I was 18 for the first time, and it hit me pretty hard because I was at the age of whatever this is talking about. It just it made me feel weird. And when was the first time you watched this?
I think a couple of months ago was the first time I saw this.
Yeah, that was already been months. So. Oh
Yeah, it's been months.
Oh,
Yeah, we're halfway done with this year.
Yeah, I watched it early this year.
Great. All right.
Yeah, all
Did
you
you
asked me
want-
was
did-
when. Do you want me to
Did
talk
you
about
want?
it?
Yeah. Hoping you take the lead on that.
Oh,
We're
my
just-
bad, guys.
You're fine.
I enjoyed it.
Great. All right. That's great. Real quick, I just want to talk about something. I recently learned that Sacramento is the most diverse city in America,
Fantastic. Let's
and
go.
there's a lot of
It's all white.
it's all
people.
white people in this movie.
Oh. Yeah.
So Jasmine, what were your expectations? You never seen this movie before, right?
No, I watched it for the first time on Wednesday when it was
On Netflix.
On
when
Netflix.
Just put on Netflix. Yeah.
Yep. So let me tell you, Ugo has been saying, "Wow, this movie reminds me a lot about your mom,
You and your mom's
your,
relationship.
like our
yeah.
relationship." And I was like, "Okay, whatever." Essentially, right?
Yeah.
And then so overall, I had high expectations, right? Because I really liked
Little
Little
Women.
Women.
Little
I really
Women,
liked
yeah.
it. And I liked this one, but I don't think I liked it as much as I thought I would.
You wanted to?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think that's better. I don't think I liked it as much as I wanted to like it, but I still enjoyed it overall. I think obviously like the mom and daughter dynamic, although I'm not exactly sure what you saw in there. I could see how it could resemble my mom and my relationship, but I think a lot of young women have similar relationships with
Yeah.
their mothers.
That's so.
Right,
It reminded me of my sister's and my mom's
Yeah.
relationship as well. And Greta Gerwig talked about how her male friends would be like, there'd be men without sisters and men with sisters. And the ones without sisters would be like, is that really how women talk? Is that really how women argue? And then men with sisters would be like, oh my God, that's exactly.
Yeah,
how-
100%. Yeah, it's actually pretty spot on, and like those interactions that you have with your mother, especially like when they're thrifting for I think her Thanksgiving dress,
Yeah.
and they're bickering and
And
bickering,
then
and then,
like pick up your feet, stuff like that.
yeah, and then the mom's like, oh, look at this dress, and she's like, oh, and then everything's forgotten, right?
Yeah.
That's exactly how.
Yeah. And I spent several hours with my mom and sister at malls. So, yeah, that's.
So it's a really good movie overall, but I think it didn't necessarily meet my expectations. I still liked it. It's probably one of my favorite movies that I've seen thus far, but I still stand that I think it's Grand Budapest and then Moonlight and then this one.
And then this one.
I thought this one would top both of them.
Wait. So you guys are telling me all moms are really mean to their daughters?
They're very passive aggressive.
That's wild.
Actually, I think so. I think, yeah, not passive. Yeah. It's like this thing where like, and then we'll discuss it later. But I think the movie touches on a lot of things on how moms perceive the way they're interacting with their daughters is not a negative thing.
Right. But it like outwardly, it kind of looks like,
Yeah.
very malicious. And,
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, in the movie, I think the mom, and obviously, like, we'll say, like, every mom probably loves their daughter.
Yeah.
Most likely, right?
Honestly, but
Right.
there's like a lot of passive aggressiveness amongst women, and maybe that's what I think men generally tend to be a little bit more
Active aggressive.
So for women, it's like, yeah, this is exactly like how you talk with your mom and your sisters, and it's a very common way of like.
Yeah. I just realized
fighting.
Anders doesn't
And
have
just-
any.
Yeah, I don't have a
sisters.
sister.
So-
I thought this mom was very
just-
mean. But apparently that's just how moms are.
I did read an article that said that she was emotionally abusive.
There's definitely things she did. I think a lot of people are a lot of women are guilty of doing this.
Right.
Because silent treatment is psychologically abusive.
That's what they said. That's
Yeah.
what they said. Yeah. Because there's a scene where Lady Bird is like,
After
"Please, mom, please."
Yeah,
That
after she
scene
gets
is so
in
sad.
school.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's I have done that, and my mom has done that, so we are
So it's-
both guilty.
Boom, spot on, man.
And
Right.
my friends have done that to me, and I've done that to my friends. It's a very
It's a very
it's very bad, but like that's what women kind of sort of do, and it's really like a horribly toxic trait that I should stop. But
Um,
I think most men might not know that the silent treatment is toxic and almost like manipulative.
right.
So be cautious of that.
Just
So women
Just
are
so you
toxic,
know.
manipulative is what I'm hearing.
toxic
that's one
femininity.
way women can be toxic and manipulative,
Right.
right? Because it's I guess it brings that, like, I guess it's abusive in the sense that you're being neglected, right? And
Yeah. It's kind of like negging,
yeah.
right? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we
that
went a
was,
little bit on a tangent.
Yeah.
But, sorry.
let's talk about our favorite scenes. Who wants
Sure.
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first
Okay.
because I already know I'm gonna have a similar scene with someone in this room, and it's clearly the dressing room scene.
Okay, go on.
So they're prom dress shopping, right? And they're kind of bickering as they do, and then they have this really like this moment where
Why can't you say I look nice?
I thought you didn't even care what I think.
I still want you to think I look good.
Okay, I'm sorry. I was telling you the truth. You want me to lie?
No, I mean, I wish that you liked me.
Of course I love you.
But do you like me?
it speaks a lot to, I guess maybe when you're younger, but it's something I experience now too. This longing to have your parents be proud of you, right? And sometimes it's really hard, not necessarily hard, but I think it's hard to let go of that ideal because you're trying to become your own person, but you're still seeking your parents' approval because you want that them to be pleased with you and not disappointed. And I don't think that necessarily goes away with age. I think as you get older, you accept that you and your parents are different people with different perspectives, and that you're not going to see eye to eye on things, and that's fine. But I think when you're young, it really hurts, right? Because you haven't come to that
Including
it doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter, but at the end of the day, it's your life, it's your decision. You're gonna have to, kind of like with Moonlight, right? You just have to just have to decide what you're gonna do and who you're gonna be.
Yeah. This is a similar theme, just
Yeah.
right, of identity. So that was actually my favorite scene too. But I guess I'll make Andres go next because I don't have anything else prepared.
I mean, what? Obviously, it's different. Do you feel like as a male that you have more a sense to please both your parents? Because I feel like with me, I definitely feel like I want to please my mom more than my dad.
I think so.
I mean, you don't have to share,
I have a
right?
better relationship with my mom.
Mhm.
And my dad is not necessarily emotionally invested in me, and I don't know if I was trying to make him proud, but I was definitely like, I definitely wanted him to like me. And then when I was 18, like around the time I watched this film, I sort of realized he's probably never gonna like me, and that's just the nature of the relationship. So I just sort of like moved on from that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think that's why I like this scene so much, right? Because like the mom's like, "I love you," right? And your parents do love you. And I think I don't know if it touched earlier on in the movie or after that scene, but parents want you to be quote unquote the best version of
you,
yourself,
yeah.
and that's so dumb, right?
Yeah.
Like
This
what
is
is
a
that?
bit-
It's based on
that's-
your. It's
that's
based
based
on
on what they want you to
Because
Yeah,
then
it's
she
based on-
tells
yeah.
her, "What if this is the best version I
it's
can
based
be?"
on their standards,
Yeah.
right? So like, why should I base? If I disappoint you, it's not my fault. It's based on your standards that you've placed on me, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's as you get older, that's what you realize too.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm gonna base it off of my standards, and if they don't meet yours, then I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very powerful stuff.
Yeah,
That is a
that's
very
great.
powerful scene, huh?
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
Do you wanna?
What about your scenes?
Yeah,
Your scenes are a
yours-
little bit more lighthearted, I think.
Yeah. Which one are you gonna choose?
Well, I'm gonna pick the one where she's talking to the old nun lady the principal lady.
I read your college essay. You clearly love Sacramento.
I do?
You write about Sacramento so affectionately and with such care.
Well, I was just describing it.
Well, it comes across as love.
Sure. I guess I pay attention.
Don't you think maybe they are the same thing?
And like, that's kind of like also the relationship with her and her mom.
Yeah.
Like at first I was thinking like the mom is very mean, very abusive, but the mom is paying a lot of attention to her. And she's just, I don't know, that's just the way she is. I guess that's the way moms are with daughters. I don't know what to say about that.
I think she's definitely like a helicopter mom, right?
Definitely, yeah,
Right?
yeah.
And I think helicopter moms have a really hard time, or parents in general have a really hard time letting go.
That's how our parents are.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Yes.
Is your mom that way, Andy?
I think your mom's pretty hands off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she didn't have a daughter. Like if she had a daughter, that might be a
Could
different
be.
story. I
Could
think.
be.
But also, like, our moms obviously, like, grew up, like, they have the same childhood experience or similar enough. And I think that kind of impacted why they're helicopter parents.
I have no
don't
idea.
know.
Yeah. Well, in Mexico, shit. Well, for women,
It's
that's
horrible. Like, my mom tells me
Yeah.
horrible things.
Like
they
they
would just
they
grope
just
them.
grab you in public, and
Yeah.
you'd be like 13 or something,
Yeah,
and the
it's
the men were probably like in their 20s or 30s.
Nah, probably like
No.
older than
Older than that?
Yeah.
Jesus.
I had like some really nasty. I think that's why I'm also like super paranoid of leaving, because my mom not leaving, but like
Because your mom instilled you with that
going
fear.
out, and then now I'm like super hyper vigilant whenever I go out. But kind of going back with
That's a lot. I feel like that's what a lot of women are.
Are they? I don't know.
They're always like, it's a scary world out there. You can
honestly, because like I feel like, I don't know, when you guys go out, do like, if one of your friends is like off and away, you're like, we'll find him later.
Yeah.
No, you're like, damn, she died.
You want to see that's
you
just the
think
difference.
She died.
There's a difference because
it's like you just stop having fun after that, and you're like calling everyone.
we're never scared that a woman is gonna like jump out and like
What about
kidnap
man?
us.
Not
I mean,
as
that's
big
not
as
really-
a fear
it's not as-
as
yeah, it's not
a
as big as a
woman
fear.
would have, I guess.
Especially because people who do that aren't. It's not. It's not necessarily that they're like doing it for sexual reasons, but it's just you're like an easy target.
Yeah.
They like see you as weak and feeble or whatever.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
So helicopter parents.
Right.
So I think with helicopter parents, they have a really hard time letting go. I think is where we left off. But not just that. I think dang, I forgot my train of thought.
The train left a while ago.
I think what kind of moms are guilty of doing, and I don't know if it's necessarily just helicopter parents, but I'd like to call this like unsolicited advice, where they like tell you things to like improve yourself, but it can come across as very, what is it? Is it passive aggressive or like what's the other word?
Critical?
Kind of, yeah, critical. Like when I think Lady Bird has like her clothes are not put up, right? And then mom's like, well, it's in order for you to be a better person, blah, blah, blah. I don't necessarily know I guess Lady Bird kind of cares about her appearance in school.
But
it's like she gives her like these little things, or like, oh, like, well, maybe you could lose a little bit of weight. And Lady Bird's like, what? I don't want to lose weight. I was like, well, I thought you were talking about how you're so self-conscious, maybe, blah, 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 right? It's like moms kind of like give you these advices that like rub the wrong way, but are well-intentioned. So I like to call that unsolicited advice. I'm like, I'm not asking, I'm just like venting. I don't need you to tell me how to improve myself. I'm just telling you how I feel.
This is Jasmine's podcast right here. This is her mojo. Yeah, so speaking of which,
can you guys relate or not?
I mean, not really.
Oh, really?
my mom's never really told me anything like that.
Really? Okay.
No.
Yeah, my mom kind of does.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he gets it.
Yeah, I kind of see what you're saying.
All right.
Cool.
My mom's. I don't know. I think when I was younger, she realized anytime she told me anything, I'd just like give up. Or so then she's like, I'm just not gonna tell this kid anything.
But like low key, our moms are like sexist though.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, like
or high key, I don't know.
they pay more attention to the daughters than to the sons.
But they're kinder to the sons, in my opinion.
But that's like a Mexican thing, right? Like,
I think that's just Morgan, my friend who's not Mexican, says that that's just a mom thing.
all right.
That like, okay, my mom says that it comes from like, because apparently women are stronger than men, so we have to baby the men or something like
That's
that.
such bullshit, man.
That's so true, dude. I'm a baby.
That's what my mom said that grandma taught them. that should like exigir. What's that? Demand more from the women and not so much from the men. Because apparently, what they're like, I expect you to be stronger. But I guess Grandma also grew up in a time where women weren't really allowed to do a lot. And
I don't know. I feel like that's a weird framing.
Yeah, that's what my mom says, and I'm like,
puts a lot of
I don't like
responsibility
it.
on the women that they shouldn't have.
Yeah, I'm like, what?
Like I know a lot of guys want like a second mom, basically when they like marry someone.
Oh yeah, apparently, I don't know.
I don't know who those are though.
I don't
Like
know.
a bunch of losers.
Andy, are you one of those?
What? It's part of me.
So getting back to the film.
So
Yeah, back to favorite scenes.
scenes.
Oh shit! I haven't seen mine, right?
No.
I mean,
Do you have one?
I have another one.
okay.
Okay.
So my other favorite scene is the ending.
Oh yeah,
It's
Yes,
just-
I wanted to talk about the ending.
it's great.
Yeah. So when she's just like, do you remember the first time you drove in Sacramento? And I love that monologue. Just it's so beautiful and so well written. It's just like sort of like what's that sort of like when you're just thinking, you're just writing like.
Oh my gosh.
You know what I'm
No.
saying? No.
I don't think I do. Andy?
I'm the only English major here. it's like a sort of like
epiphany? No.
no, it's
Right.
like God, Jesus Christ! I should have paid more attention in
Inspiration?
class.
A muse? I
You
don't
just
know.
like sort of write your own thoughts. Just sort of like put it in like your diary or something. You don't really like, just your train of thought basically.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and it hit me so hard. It's just so beautiful in the imagery of her in the sun and everything. Yeah.
So, do you think that? So the overall theme, right, of the movie is like kind of her. Obviously, a lot of it's like her relationship with her mother, and like trying to not necessarily break that bond, like more like stretch it, right? So
Sure.
that
So she could be independent.
yeah, but
Yeah.
still have that same like connection and love with her mom.
Yeah.
So like, and going back with Andy's scene, I think it ties really well with the last part of the film.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Right, where obviously she does love Sacramento, but she also maybe just as an acknowledgement that in order to grow, she has to
Go away.
go away. Do you think that's true for everyone?
I don't know. I
don't
think
know.
she doesn't have anything figured out, and I think that's we watched the video, right? We watched the Screen Prison video, and they talked about how it's we don't have to have everything figured out, and that's okay, even as an adult,
Oh yeah, it definitely.
even as a 30-year-old.
That's kind of why I wanted to watch. I'm not 30 yet. I still have quite a few years. I'm so nice.
4 years.
Yeah, basically. But I think that's why I wanted to watch Frances Ha, because it's supposed to be like in your 20s. You also don't listen. You don't have to have life figured out at all. So just.
This is
Who does, dude?
this is like
honestly?
a prequel to Francis Ha. Honestly.
Oh really? Okay.
Honestly, yeah. What you gonna say? Sorry.
Like, who has their life figured out, you know?
There's a lot
I
of
don't think
people,
anyone
I
has.
think.
Yeah,
their-
so
I think a fair number of people.
nah.
Maybe
don't
if
worry
you
about
like grew up rich, probably like
Yeah.
you're predetermined what
it.
you're
Everything
gonna do.
just works out for you.
Yeah.
Then maybe.
So
Yeah, that's our favorite scenes. How long was that? How long have we been talking for? 24 minutes. Okay, so you got this, guys. This is gonna be a long episode.
Another fantastic scene is just that opening scene of her and her mom in the car.
oh,
I really
yeah.
love
Oh,
that.
shoot,
Yeah.
yeah.
And then they're arguing, and she's
There
just,
are
Sorry.
that scene portrays this relationship so well so early
Yeah.
on,
Oh,
where
yeah.
she's like, "All right, let's put another one on," and she's like, "We don't have to always entertain ourselves. Let's just sit with what we just listened to," because there's into audiobooks, and they like start arguing over it,
Yeah.
and then she just jumps out the car.
Yeah.
It's
Oh
great.
my gosh. So I watched this movie with my mom, right?
yeah.
And then at the beginning, she'd like the first what is it? 5 minutes is that scene? I don't even
Something.
know. She like stared at me, like she'd look at me.
That's
and
you.
Exactly. And then when she threw herself out of the car, she like looked at me. Not that I've ever done that, but
But that's
I
something
waiting
you
for it.
could do.
I feel like everyone in their life, every girl has.
Wants to jump out of the car?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Have you guys too?
No,
I thought it'd be.
I
I
wanted
thought
to.
it might be like an interesting thing to happen, but I don't want to get hurt.
I don't know. I'm gonna reveal quite a bit about myself. But what I would do a lot was I would just open the door. and threatened to like.
And threat.
like,
I'ma
toss
do it.
myself
Jesus
out.
Christ. Like in the freeway or something?
Yeah.
Oh my God, Jasmine.
Dude, that is wild, man.
Oh,
So I
Jesus.
think that's why my mom looked at me because like I would do that like when I was not doing great.
16 or something when you were
Nah, like
not like
5 years
yesterday.
ago.
Okay, all right. So 21, 20.
yeah, I would do that quite a bit.
By the way, real quick, Saoirse Ronan is 26 currently, so she's 23 in this movie. And Lucas Hedges is 3 years younger than her.
Who's Lucas Hedges?
He's
Danny?
the one that ends up being gay.
Oh, okay.
Danny.
Yeah. And like you come now, 3 years later, Saoirse still looks the same, and Lucas Hedges looks 30.
Man,
Like
Wow.
it's just
men
like,
age so interesting.
so hungry. Timothy Chalamet still looks the same too.
Oh,
That's my favorite white boy.
Yeah.
Timothy Chalamet.
nice.
I told my girlfriend I was gonna watch the movie, and she said that she's gonna just for him.
Just for Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. I hate his character in this movie too, and
It's
I was
great,
like, ugh.
I like the thing that he does when he just like he sort of like mumbles a little bit, but his mouth's too shiny. You can't really understand. It's so beautiful, man. It's a beautiful performance.
He annoys me so much.
He did a good job.
Yeah, he did a great job. Let's talk about the first things you guys noticed in this movie in terms of like filmmaking and stuff, you know? Because I think Moonlight was easier to do because it was
Yeah.
hyper stylized, and
Yeah.
this has more like a natural vibe to it. So what did you guys notice?
It had a lot of like scenic views of Sacramento, right? That's maybe the most obvious thing I noticed.
Why do you think that is?
Because as Greta Gerwig said, it's a love story to Sacramento.
You watch her interviews and stuff?
I think I watched something with her.
Okay, yeah, it's a love letter.
Yeah,
Love letter to
There
Sacramento.
you go. Other than that, it looked like pretty traditional.
You know,
to me.
I'll say that this is the sort of embodiment of indie movies from the late 2010s. A lot of indie movies look like this. So, excuse me.
It just looked very not necessarily mainstream.
Jesus
Almost
Christ.
dying. What about you, Andy? Are you as ignorant as I am, or
For this one, I think so, because like coming out of Moonlight, they had a bunch of interesting camera angles
Yeah.
and different like camera types. I was looking for things like that, and I never was like, "There's an interesting angle" or something. I never got that while watching
Yeah.
this one.
Because there's not a lot of like fancy movements that sort
Yeah.
of bring attention to
Yeah.
themselves. Why do you think that is? Why do you think they chose not to do that?
Because this is a movie about an average girl.
Yeah.
You gotta,
Yeah.
set that tone of normal life.
Normal life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's what I got from this.
yeah? So this is set like in 2002, right? Like at
Yeah,
the
I was
beginning.
3, but
Oh, I don't remember.
you were 8.
Oh, yeah, math. Why?
Why?
Yeah.
Because that's when Greta was here. You.
Oh, was she?
Yeah,
How old is she?
She's
not that
old.
old. No.
She's like 30.
She's not old, then.
38.
yeah. 30
Yes, she
She's
is.
super young.
Come on, guys.
Come on.
I know you guys are getting close to that age. but
Jesus Christ, dude.
No, that's like really young. You're not old until you're like 75, maybe.
Jesus Christ, Jasmine.
No, I don't
You're raising the bar pretty high now.
No,
huh?
people don't. I don't think people feel old at 60. I think their body.
No one
starts-
feels old at any time.
I think they. No. I think their body starts catching up like when you're like in your 70, 75. You can kind of start feeling old because your
No, I think
body's
at 50, your body starts like completely just decomposing.
My
Like, I
body
don't
already
think you
hurts,
feel
so
old. Well, I don't know. That's for a different. That's neither here nor there. Okay.
Yeah, so that's when she was a teenager, which is an interesting. I always find this time period really fascinating. So, I'm interested. I have food in my mouth. I'm really sorry. I've always been interested in this time because I like the aesthetic of it, especially because I was a kid. Like I was alive during this time, but I wasn't conscious. So I hadn't seen. I don't know what anyone looked like during this time. So it's nice. It's nice to see a period piece in a time like this. This is a period piece.
Yeah.
So,
I didn't necessarily. It's. I mean, obviously, that's like what 12 years ago. I don't necessarily feel like
12 years ago.
right.
18.
Oh shoot! I can't math. That's why I didn't graduate with an
Yeah,
engineering degree.
people that were born in 2002 now have OnlyFans accounts.
Oh my god! Yikes! That's disturbing.
that's great, dude.
I guess you do whatever you want, right?
Yeah,
If
it's
you wanna
your body, your choice.
Self-feed pics. Damn, I don't want to do that. not work anymore. Okay, what were we saying?
Where were we going?
Oh, I don't necessarily feel like it was like. I think if you saw it now and you didn't know it was supposed to be in 2002, I don't think you necessarily would think it was 2002.
I think you would.
You would.
I think
don't
it
know.
draws attention to itself because that he has a.
There's like a few
Timothy Chalamet
references.
has a cell phone. It's a flip phone.
Oh, I didn't know.
And then she's like, no, I don't have a cell phone. I only have a landline. Who the fuck has a landline? You know?
I have a landline.
Yeah.
Well, I think she says that it's not a landline. She says it's my parents' phone.
It's a landline then.
But she doesn't say that.
Yeah.
So I think you can
guess,
watch
yeah.
this movie.
And
I think it's purposeful that she doesn't mention it's a landline. And
to give it like universality.
yeah.
But they do use the slang. Like you hear Timothy Chalamet like struggling to use that slang.
Yeah.
Sort of a little bit of like, I think it's very baller. It's very
Yeah.
anarchist.
Is that how people talk back
That's
then?
how
I
people
thought that was
talk
just
back
his
then.
character.
No, that's the
All right.
slang
Maybe
of
I
the
hate
time.
those people then because I hate his
Yeah.
character.
You hate people that were raised in the 2000s.
Hey, that's me.
That's me.
Wait. 38.
Maybe
That
it's just some self-hatred then when I see his character.
No.
No, his character is bad.
Yeah.
His character's a bad guy. I hate him.
I think
He
he's
is.
a bad
He's
guy.
a douchebag, right?
Yeah, he's a
Absolutely.
He's an
I
F
hate
boy,
him.
right?
A fuckboy? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very much so.
Yeah. That's the version of 2002.
Crazy.
Long hair.
Faux,
Faux intellectual.
what's a fake
Pseudo
deep?
intellectual.
Roll their own
Fake-
cigarettes.
What'd you say?
fake deep.
What does that mean?
Like
Fake
he's
deep,
not-
yeah. Like he's
too
not actually deep.
superficial.
He's
Oh,
He just
yeah.
pretends to be like.
He's a pseudo intellectual.
yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm super moody.
yeah.
The Iraq War, man.
Oh my God.
And then he does something bad and he just brings that up like, like an asshole.
yeah.
I like that line though. She just tells him like two things can be sad. or
Yeah,
something
different
like that.
things can be said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you go, girl.
Yeah.
Stand up to him.
Yeah.
Punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, neither Andy and I noticed anything super fancy. Is
Super
that,
fan.
is
Yeah,
that
yeah,
okay?
Yeah.
That's fine. You know, that's like sort of how I feel like that's how most movies are
Okay.
anyway. So we'll get there to the point where you can
Fantastic.
notice because there's like I think this movie used a lot was framing. We'll get to that in a little bit because I decided to break this down in the way we used to,
Okay.
just to offer us some structure. So let's talk about the writing.
Very nice.
Amazing.
Amazing, yeah.
All the dialogue feels super realistic.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
All the characters are very fleshed out. I like them
Yeah.
a lot. Except for Timothy's character.
No, he's super fleshed
He's
out.
super-
He is super fleshed out, but I don't like him.
That's just
He's
who
the
he-
only character I don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wasn't like. He knew who he was. He was upfront about it.
What do you think makes the dialogue so natural in this?
It sounds like people.
Real people. You know,
Um,
because we talked about how Tarantino like has these
yeah.
long conversations about nothing really to
I,
sort of add to
I
the movie.
think Greta did a really good job of capturing just how people talk in like their normal life, like the flow and ebb of things, especially because, and I think we've referenced this scene a lot before, but like when they're in that shopping center looking for like the Thanksgiving gown, that's like super like authentic, I guess is the word I'm looking for. It's just like, yes, like this is exactly how it goes. It's just like bam, bam, bam. Oh, a different topic. Oh, we're somewhere else. We're different, feeling something different. It's a very natural the way she does things. And then even when Lady Bird's talking with her friend, I don't remember her name.
The one that she leaves, or
Yeah.
um,
And just all their interactions are very realistic to being teenagers, right?
yeah,
I think a lot of in the movie, I was like, oh, Lady Bird, why are you doing this? Or, oh, Lady Bird. I was like, she's a teenager. She's going to, I mean, obviously everybody can make mistakes, but, you know, this, if any time is kind of okay to make mistakes is when you're a teen and you're just
Teenager.
trying to figure out what you want to do. And that's
Yeah.
a lot of what this movie is too. Like, Lady Bird goes through a lot of trials and errors and, you know, she doesn't make the best choices, but she makes them. She makes them.
I will
that's-
say,
and that's brave in itself.
I will say, because I was a teenager recently, so I feel like that is pretty. It's interesting to me because I feel like when people get older, they sort of forget what it was like
Yeah.
to be young.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, this could have easily been not representative. You know,
Yeah.
like when old men write high school
Yeah.
movies, and I'm very surprised. I wonder, Greta Gerwig has a very youthful vibe to her, so maybe it's because of that, or maybe she like was able to, I don't know, like really dig it deep into her memories.
Yeah.
That's she claims this isn't autobiographical,
Yeah.
but it's very clearly, like, at the very least, half based on her life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah.
No, yeah, but I think dang, that's something I keep forgetting. Ugh. Nope. Okay, that's something else. Why I thought it was very like realistically done. Oh, I think okay. Now I remember. I think I was on Reddit or something, and then somebody was like talking about like a young adult novel, and people were like, "Ugh, I like the story, but this teenager was too much of a teenager." And I was like,
What does that
"What
mean?
the hell?" Like they're doing like dumb, not dumb. I shouldn't say dumb, but they're doing like typically teenager things, and I was like, "That's what I think this movie captures so well, is that it's embraces being a teen, and doesn't make them behave like adults, and maybe make good choices or the better choices. It's just very authentically a teenager just figuring things out."
Yeah. What about the structure of it? How would you define the structure of this, Jasmine?
Traditional? What about you, Andy? I don't know.
What's a traditional structure?
You know, like three, like a 3-act structure sort of deal.
Oh.
Does this movie feel like it's broken down in 3 acts? Because I don't.
I don't think it is.
Yeah, I don't think so. It feels like one big thing. I don't feel like there's ever parts that get broken down.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a series of. I say this word a lot for a lot of it. It feels like vignettes to me.
I feel like this is the first time I've ever heard you say that
Oh,
word.
really? No, we talked about it with Django and with.
I must not pay attention.
I wasn't here for Django. Can you explain?
So like sort of, it shows us moments in her life that sort of have a vague connection to each other.
Okay.
But it's not like one straight story. So we like.
You know what?
Yeah.
Now that you bring that up, because one thing I did notice was like, what was it, like winter break was like done super fast, like the holidays.
Yeah.
Like I guess nothing impactful happened during that time.
That was like one scene that was played with music on top.
Yeah,
right?
and then it was Christmas, and then it was New Year's, and then it was back to school.
Yeah.
And I guess I think now that you say that, I think it does more so like highlight major
Moments.
points, in her life. Yeah.
Plus, like when we're in school, like winter break is like what, like 2-3 weeks long.
It's the best 2-3 weeks.
And it's just like you're just sitting in bed. Like really, you're sitting in bed playing video games or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, you're just letting life pass by.
Yeah, great.
So that's sort of like, I feel like that's what that moment was going for. Yeah. But I just felt that because like it would cut randomly, I think, to like a different part of.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Then I don't know what I'm talking about.
I also saw it on Wednesday, so I can't. It's already kind of leaving my memory. So.
Sure. I was gonna try and watch it again yesterday, but I didn't.
Yeah. Maybe we should start watching them like the day before.
That's what I would do.
Yeah.
And then you're like, no, you have to watch it early so I can marinate in your
Don't worry
brain.
about it.
Maybe watch it 3 times.
Oof.
Yeah, just watch it 3
You
times.
know what? Watch it once a day for that whole week.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah.
I feel like you'll get tired of it probably in the third watch.
Third watch, yeah.
Maybe even faster if it's a movie you don't even like.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the acting. We've talked about the acting a little bit.
Yeah.
There was 2 Oscar nominees for this. It was Saoirse and Laurie, and they both lost. Saoirse lost to Frances McDormand,
Okay.
and Laurie lost to Allison Janney for I, Tonya. So both of those with the supporting actresses, both of them were in comedic movies because this is a comedy.
Yeah.
Right. Even though it gets melancholic at times, this is a comedy. So Laurie, so Allison Janney had like this really exaggerated performance, where she's just like smoking and she's like in a ton of makeup and she has like a bird on her shoulder and she's like, fuck you, stuff like that. And she ended up winning because of that. Like, do you remember what I talked to you about in terms of like acting?
You said that the Oscars think about it as like the most acting, the
Acting, yeah.
most editing, the
Yeah.
most directing.
Yeah. So what do you think about this performance stood out to you with Laurie Metcalf specifically?
I think she did a really good job of encompassing being a mom and loving your daughter, but also that weird dynamic probably moms go through. I'm not a mother, so I have no idea. I'm talking out of my butt. But from what my mom says, You don't understand because you're not a mom. But like, I suppose I think a lot of moms could watch this and really relate to her character and be, not that she's not a sympathetic character, but I think moms would find her a lot more sympathetic than people.
us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Especially that scene where she's driving around the airport,
The
right?
airport. I love that scene. Yeah.
That's a very emotional scene, and I think a lot of parents would really relate to those like emotions she's going through, especially if you're. I want to stop saying helicopter parent because I don't think it has like the best connotation. But if you're a parent who's quite attached to your child, I think it's a very hard transition. And I think because of that, I think she did a really good job of encompassing a loving mother, but an overprotective mom.
By the way, that scene amazing because there's no dialogue.
Yeah, it's great.
You just see her and you the camera stuck on her.
Yeah.
And it's just so beautiful. That sort of quiet moment. There's a few moments like that in this movie where you just sort of just sit there with the characters and you just sort of see them react to things. And, beautiful. Yeah. I feel like I would have voted for Laurie over.
I wouldn't. I haven't seen Allison Janney's performance. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very over the top. It's not bad. It is. She also plays a mom that's abusive.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't.
You wouldn't call this one abusive.
I don't think it's abusive. I think it's just parents are interesting. I think she's a very loving mom. Overall, I thought she was gonna be a lot worse based on what
because I told you she's like your mom.
No, but I think you generally have. Really
I'm gonna cut this part out.
Okay, we're doing.
Leave it in.
And there's so what performance stood out to you guys? So that was my performance that stood out to me. What performance stood out to you guys?
And you obviously love Timothée Chalamet's
performance.
He's so
Honestly,
about.
I mean, he did a great job making me hate him.
Yeah, because you hate him so much. That means
he did a great job. Yeah, he did a great job.
Yeah.
But one scene I really like was, we already talked about it earlier, was when Lady Bird was like apologizing for getting accepted to the school, and she's like begging her like to talk to her, and she's like breaking down,
crying.
Yeah. That's an amazing performance.
Saoirse,
yeah, she's great.
Yeah, I love Saoirse. Yeah, hit me up.
I think. Wow.
Yeah, man, she's cute.
I think whoever the casting director was for this film did a really good job of casting both Saoirse and Laurie, because I think they have such a strong and intimate dynamic.
Yeah, great chemistry.
Yeah, 100%. So I think both of them. I don't know. I think if there had been different actors, it may have not been as strong. So I think both of them did such a good job of emulating a relationship between moms and daughters. I think even the first scene, like, why are they, like, if there's something symbolic, right, about like
them being in the same bed.
Right?
Because it's very intimate.
Yeah, it's very, so like obviously they love each other and they're very close together, right? Because like generally speaking, like girls in high school don't like
love their moms.
No, but like I mean, because what am I saying? Like I don't know. Do you guys like? I can't say this without sounding weird, but like people don't usually like sleep with their moms, right?
No, I wouldn't say that at all.
But like usually, like after a certain point, if like kids will go to sleep in their own room, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean that. I don't like sleeping with anyone because something happens in the morning.
Well, but yeah, exactly. Like I guess it just is different with women. I think women generally have. Don't have that. Obviously, don't have that. Where am I going with this? But for me, like that was a very intimate moment, right?
Because that's something you do when you're a kid.
Yeah, when you're a kid, but it's because she's still a kid, but not quite.
She's turning into an adult.
Yeah. So then I feel like that's a really good starting point with the movie. That
we start with her childhood innocence. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Holy shit! Oh my god!
Beautiful.
So for me, I don't know where I was going with that because I got kind of lost around the way. But for me, that was really symbolic, even because I feel like I think maybe I do that with my mom, and I think your sister, like, we will just like chill with our moms and like lay down and take
bed.
A nap. Yeah. And that's just like a very intimate moment, and also like sleeping is just a very vulnerable type of thing, right? And it's just very relaxing, and after that, it's a lot of chaos with their life.
Yeah, right after she jumps out of the car.
Yeah. So, and I think that just speaks about like. When you're with your mom, right? It's just sometimes you're just super chill, you're just vibing.
And sometimes you're ripping your hair.
Yeah, honestly, it's great. So yeah,
Yeah.
I think both of them had did such a well job.
Yeah.
Such a well
Such a well job, man. Such a good job.
Yes.
Yes. Let's talk about cinematography.
Cinematography. Dang, you're making fun of me, Google?
No, that's a meme.
Oh.
Cinematography.
I don't know.
So you guys were talking about how you didn't really notice. Did you at least notice the color palette
Andy, I think it has a better eye for this.
for colors? Because you talked about colors in Mad Max.
Did you notice anything?
Did you notice the colors in this?
I
I
feel
did
they're
not.
warm,
It was yeah.
very
It-
warm colors.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you say this was like Polaroid?
What does that mean?
You know, like you know what a Polaroid is?
Yeah, the pictures that are instantaneous.
Yeah. You know, like when you look at a Polaroid, would you like? Do you get the same feeling when you look at this?
I guess no.
What do you?
Not me.
What feeling do you get out of it then? Because the video I showed you guys talked about how it looks like a memory. What were you gonna say? No, don't let me influence your thinking.
I forgot.
No.
It's gone. It's gone.
I don't necessarily know if it looks like a memory. The tones are pretty. I don't want to say neutral, but they're not overly like stylized, I suppose.
Mhm.
They're very natural. I think colors that I would associate with California, some oranges, greens, and blues, and
Right. Yes. Yeah. I keep forgetting that this is like supposed to be a level because that's like that part of the movie for me is not really like connecting. Of like, oh, Sacramento, so good.
Yeah.
Never been there. Sorry. It's just
yeah, I don't know. We've only
Yeah.
been to Anaheim, I suppose.
LA. We were in LA too.
Oh, did we? I don't remember.
Okay.
But yeah, maybe those are the. I don't know, because I know I do remember that they said something about a memory, but I didn't necessarily see that part of the movie. But I don't know. I don't necessarily. I also don't feel like I have like the most discerning eye when it comes to that.
To
sort of
that
thing.
stuff, yeah.
So.
And we talked about why there's not a lot of movements, right?
No,
Do we? No? Okay.
What
Why
movements?
there's not a lot of camera movements.
because it's
Oh, yeah.
natural.
It's just like all on tripods, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was gonna send you guys another video, but I felt like that was too
To advance.
kind of.
Wow.
Because
Andy.
Wow.
even he was saying stuff that even I wasn't understanding, so I'm like, okay, I don't know if I should send this. But it was just like he was explaining the sort of style of it, and the way that there was a lot of like sort of open space, and how they'd be framed against the window a lot, which is not something you typically do because the sort of lighting affects it, so everything is darker, and that is the truth. Like that is like in a lot of scenes there it is very darkly lit, and the background is very bright. Now I don't know what that means.
Me either. You kind of lost me, to be honest.
Maybe it's like outside California is so beautiful, and you know
Maybe.
the indoor life of Lady Bird was not as great.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
That's just something interesting I learned about like that sort of windows. I don't know. Is California is like the scene as that sort of like open plain sort of vibe,
I
right?
have no idea. I think generally is Sacramento in Northern California. Do you guys
I
happen
think
to
so.
know?
I don't
I
I
wouldn't know.
think there's a general consensus that Northern California is like more chill, like lazy, not lazy, but like just a slower pace of life.
Than Southern California.
Yeah. I think, wow, that's beautiful. I don't know if that's true or if I'm confusing South and North, but I think North California is a little bit more chill.
Yeah, that's probably why we get a lot of open windows and
Yeah.
see the outside world, and there's not much going on there either.
Yep.
Let's talk about that was great. Let's talk about score. So I think there's a very stylized score for this. I don't know if you guys did you guys notice the music?
I think I don't remember,
You
but
don't-
I feel like at the time I noticed something and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna remember this."
And then you
And
forgot
it's
I
gone.
forgot it.
like a song.
No, it's gone. I don't
It's gone.
remember,
Alright.
but I feel like I did notice something. What that thing was? I don't know. Andy?
The score didn't really jump out at me that much. The only I don't remember any song at all, except for when she's crying to her mama. There's a sad song playing.
Yeah.
That's the only song I remember.
All right. It's so the score is composed by John Bryan, and he does like really interesting music. So this is kind of like a quirky score a lot of the time. Like there's one that goes dun. I'm not gonna do it.
This score is not like the other scores, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. I'd say like Moonlight and like Grand Budapest. I think this has a very distinct score.
I don't remember enough of
Right.
it.
Great. Don't worry. We'll get there. Eventually you'll notice.
I never noticed score.
Let's talk about okay, so I bring this up only because I feel like I should explain it every week until you guys kind of directing, yeah. What do you think directing is? Like just quickly, like what do you think directing is?
Andy, you answer.
Everything.
Everything.
There we
Yeah.
go.
I've talked about how it's sort of like the composer, not a composer. What's that thing? Conductor.
orchestra
Conductor.
person.
Yeah. Of putting all these pieces together of like and making one cohesive thing. Because Greta Gerwig directed this. This is the first female director we're talking about, by the way.
Fantastic.
What do you think about the directing in this movie, Jasmine? What do you think that entailed to get something
How come
like
you don't
this?
put Andy in the hot spot? 'Cause he's more into film, I guess. Directing, good job.
All right, and this is leaving.
He agrees. Good job.
Good job.
Good job.
I can't think of a single instance where I was like,
This doesn't make sense.
no, that this jumped at me.
All right.
I'm very confused still about
Directing?
Not confused. It seems like it should be like, wow, they did a great job, but I'm like, how? You know, like I don't know. I don't think I know the what's that? Like the details, the fine details about directing.
Right.
But I'm like, oh, okay, she made a good choice, or he made a good choice, or whatever the director is, right? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I've talked about directing, and the story that I like is when Quentin Tarantino also didn't really know what directing entailed. He was like at Sundance because he had a screenplay there.
Yeah.
And he was talking to this director, and then the director told him, like, this is what directing is. You get a cinematographer that you like, you get the actors that you like, and then you just tell them what you want.
So you just have good taste?
Yeah. Like you're like they say, and there's other stuff like 90% of directing is casting. There's a lot of little things like that. It's very loose, I think, what you do, because there's a lot of different styles.
Okay.
And I think I just remembered what I was going to say about that.
Wow.
About like the sort of style of the film is driven by the director.
Okay.
So like you've noticed the different styles and like
Oh, okay.
Grand
Yeah.
Budapest,
Okay.
Moonlight, and this, you can tell the styles are different,
Okay.
and that's up to the director.
You started to understand it more, Andy?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also for
at
the
least that
audience.
makes one of
us. That's also for the audience out there, in case they don't know, in case this is a beginner for you sort of thing. I'll probably have to say that every week just in case.
Yeah.
Because I feel like most people aren't listening to us. They're listening to the movie. They're clicking it on it because of the movie. Let's talk about editing.
For some of the more stylized ones, I think editing, you talked about cutting, right?
Yeah. Did you notice the cuts in this?
Yes. Okay, you take this. I'm scared.
Well, I mean, I personally didn't notice cuts in here. I didn't notice much in editing.
Oh, whoa.
Even like Ugo pointed out how these scenes are just randomly pasted together.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't notice that.
Did you
I
notice
noticed some parts that were kind of like not hip hop, but I don't know. Okay, so I feel like we haven't talked about too much about editing in the past. I think, when was the last time we did? Maybe the Grand Budapest. I don't remember.
That's the last time. Yeah, probably.
So with this one, because the story. So like when you read and you have those what are those called, linking verbs, is and, right? No, I'm
Sure.
an English major. Yeah. You know stuff, right?
I didn't study grammar, but
wow.
yeah.
Well, so do scenes have to have like those linking elements, like, and then this happened, or is it just okay if it's like, okay, that's the end of the scene, next point in her life?
It's up to whatever.
Okay.
It's up to the
Like
story.
I can notice them, but I don't necessarily know what that
What that means.
Yeah.
So like you notice that it would just the scene would end and then we and then we just cut to a different one. Yeah, that's what I noticed too. But that's the scene's cut, and that's I feel like that was sort of the vignette thing that I was talking about. I think that's sort of what what's that thing called? Exemplify?
Yeah, sure. Perfect.
Yeah. The idea that we're just seeing the moments that matter.
Okay.
That are like influencing her adulthood.
Okay. So then editing and cinematography kind of similar?
It's all linked.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, like obviously editing, you just put the clips together.
Yeah.
And cinematography, you're shooting the clips. Yeah.
Okay. I think maybe I get it a little bit more.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So editing has to do how the story is intertwined.
Yeah.
Perhaps?
Yeah. Like it structures the story as well. Yeah. Like a lot of people say editing is when you write the final draft. Basically.
Oh, okay. So like kind of like in Bon Appetit, like the editors add a lot of like spice
to the
overall
feel.
Okay. The editing was, I would say, normal. I don't necessarily think like the cuts.
Yeah. There's no. Yeah. It's just cuts because there's not a lot of like.
Yeah.
Fade out or
It's just like next point.
Next
point. And that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I wasn't familiar with that term that you used.
What did I use?
About the structure of this movie. Can you say that term again?
The V one?
Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
Vignettes?
Yeah.
Vignettes, all right.
So I wasn't familiar with that term. So maybe like now knowing about that term and that this movie is in that structure, if I see more movies in that similar structure, maybe this time I'll pick up on it.
Maybe, yeah. Well, that's what this
but
podcast is.
I think that's why I didn't notice it though. Like I had no idea.
What that was a concept.
Yeah.
That's what this podcast is for, Like I'm hoping
Beautiful.
you guys like start noticing stuff as we go on.
I'll probably forget it by the
by the next week. Yeah. Yeah. Any last thoughts on Lady Bird before we move on to the last point on here?
I'll talk about Danny for a second.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I thought it was the other guy. I don't remember his name.
The first time you saw this movie, were you surprised Danny was gay?
Yeah, I was. I mean,
okay.
It was. Was there even any clue?
Yeah, you didn't want to touch the boobs.
Oh yeah, there's that. But
okay, that's exactly the scene I want to talk about. So there's that scene when they're laying in the grass and Lady Bird tells him, "You can touch my boobs," and he says, "I respect you too much," and that made me think of something.
What?
When I was in high school.
Oh my god.
My high school girlfriend and we had a very similar conversation. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, maybe some guys are just like that. And then he came out as gay. And I was like,
maybe I'm gay.
Huh. So I was so shocked. I was surprised. I was
honestly also because I mean, if you think about it, they go to a Catholic school, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's not necessarily surprising that he would want to
wait till marriage.
Oh yeah, also because he believes in God
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Yeah.
I was a theater kid in high school.
Sure.
And Danny reminds me a lot of every theater kid ever.
Really?
And
because they're all gay.
And no, like they all act in a similar way. And then like after high school, they all came out as gay.
Oh my god.
Really? So yeah, like almost everyone from my theater class, all the guys, a lot of them came out as gay or bi, but
Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like I should have known, dude. I should have known Danny was gay from the start.
I wonder why that is.
I feel like theater, like, a lot of, especially for like when you're in high school and you're still closeted, theater gives you this chance to express yourself in a different way.
Yeah,
okay. Honestly, when you were talking, I'm like, am I going to have to cut this out?
Well,
okay.
I was just like, oh my god, this might be something not
offensive.
Horrible, but like maybe accidentally offensive.
No, but I like from what I saw from a lot of the theater kids, I think that was it. Like,
yeah. I think that
great.
scene when she finds out, it's all in handheld as well.
Oh, okay.
So,
I love that scene, and then she just hugs him.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, that's
great.
afterwards.
Oh yeah, when he's apologizing. My
she's
bad.
sad
That's
and
the scene
then
I love,
she's-
and she just hugs him.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, that's a good scene.
Anyways, so what would you guys change? What's a negative in this movie for you?
I feel like, well, after talking about it, I was thinking of what I would change last night while watching this, but after talking about it, I don't know if there's something I would want to change anymore.
Well,
Because I was thinking like how the mother is abusive, how she comes off as mean and all this, and I wanted to like see more of her because I feel like obviously like not just my opinion. The most important characters are Lady Bird and her mother, and like I feel like I wanted the mom to be a little more fleshed out on her own without Lady Bird there to see like what she's about. But now like that this is a common thing with moms. Maybe I don't need that.
Yeah. But I think we do get. I mean, I think that's the driving scene.
Yeah, we get
Yeah.
that one driving scene where like I don't know. I feel like that driving scene just shows that she does really care about her. But I feel like when I was watching, at least, I was still thinking, yeah, she loves her. That doesn't mean she's not being abusive. But now it's like, is she being abusive? I don't know. Like, you guys just turned that whole upside down for me.
It is probably like abusive behavior, but it's kind of like normal.
It's kind of like normal abusive
Are you allowed
behavior.
to do some
It's
abusive
normal.
behavior before it's considered abuse? Or is it like as soon as you have some abusive behavior in there, you're
So-
officially abusing them?
I don't know. That's I have to talk to someone else about that. Well, cause I don't know.
What would you change, Evan?
I don't know. I think I mentioned as I was watching it, I would get frustrated with Lady Bird. I was like, "Ugh, why are you doing this, Lady Bird? Why are you doing this? You're making bad choices." But I'm like, at least she's making bad choices. I've never
You've never made a choice in your
I've
life.
never been brave enough to just be like, I'm just gonna do this, even if it ends
Badly.
however it
Yeah,
ends.
yeah, yeah.
Right? She doesn't necessarily know if it was gonna end badly, but she just did it, and I was like, you know
I've
what?
never done that either.
Yeah. And I think, because when I was watching this, I was like, one of like the major differences between Lady Bird and myself is that Lady Bird is an extrovert, and I am not.
Yeah.
Right. So I think that's what helps her make those like decisions in life, is just to go for it. Right. And I think maybe if I was more like that, I'd be a little bit more satisfied with my life. But that's neither here nor there. But what I'm saying is, I wouldn't change anything about the movie. I really enjoyed it.
After I saw this, I was like, man, you know what? I'm gonna live life. I'm gonna take chances. And then right after, I went back to the same shit. You know.
So this movie is motivational until you realize you're garbage. I hear you.
Actually, yeah, that's what I think.
Perfect.
Yeah, this is my favorite movie, 2017. So I wouldn't change anything at all. It was The Shape of Water, and I'm like, you know what? Nah.
So why
Lady
did you
Bird.
have
This
your
was
birthday cake?
Lady
with
Bird?
Lady Bird?
If I could do it over, I'd probably do Lady Bird.
Yeah.
But
Everybody's like, what?
Guillermo del Toro has talked about how this is also his favorite movie of 2017.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So what would you guys rate this out of 5?
Andy?
4.5.
Oh, out of 5. Dang, I don't know how to do math. But also 4.5.
Yeah, I'll do 5. Favorite movie.
Great.
Yeah, great. So
2017 was a pretty good year for movies, huh?
I think
we
so.
got a lot of awesome stuff that year.
It was one of my favorite years. Not a lot of people talk about it, but so next week we're going to be talking about A Star Is Born.
Yeah.
Yay!
Amen,
Andy's
brother.
favorite movie.
And his favorite movie of that
I don't
year.
know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of that year.
yeah. You can follow me on Twitter at GenZCool. Follow Andres on Twitter.
Andy_030.
Jasmine doesn't really use social media,
No.
but you can follow her.
Senorita Jasmine. Senorita without the ñ.
All
Feel
right.
free to message us, give us any feedback, let us know if you love the show or hate
Oh, yeah.
it.
Send an email to orchatachat@gmail.com.
Yeah.
If you want. Oh, leave a review. Leave a review on iTunes, please, because that helps apparently.
Apparently. We don't
Please.
know anything.
No, 5 stars. Just write something like
4 stars.
these dickheads or something.
3 stars.
I don't know.
A star. 4.5.
Yeah, and please listen to the other episodes. Of course, we've talked about Django, Inside Llewyn Davis, Grand Budapest Hotel, Mad Max Fury Road, Moonlight, and also check out our other podcasts or Chat to Chat. We're not posting there anymore, but there's like 30, 20 episodes.
There's quite a few
There's,
episodes
you know,
in there.
So if you liked us, if you somehow, please listen to that. Give a listen to
It's
that.
just nonsense.
It's a much more loose show, but we also do talk about movies. We talked about movies past it.
Died.
So you know what? Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Come back next week. Good night. I love you.
Hey, Mom. Did you feel emotional the first time that you drove in Sacramento? I did, and I wanted to tell you, but we weren't really talking when it happened. All those Bens I've known my whole life, and stores, and the whole thing.